Alright guys, this is it. This is the last episode of the First Doctor's first season, The Reign of Terror. Alright, well, let's get this started. The Doctor, Ian, Barbara, and Susan arrive in 18th century France in a wood outside Paris and venture to a nearby farmhouse. They find that the farmhouse is being used as a staging post in an escape chain for counter-revolutionaries and contain clothes and fake papers, some of which bear the signature of Robespierre, the chief orchestrator of government during the Reign of Terror. They are soon discovered by two counter-revolutionaries, D'Argenson and Rouvray, who knock the Doctor unconscious and hold the others at gunpoint. A band of revolutionary soldiers surrounds the house and demands their surrender. Both D'Argenson and Rouvray are killed during the siege, but only after they have worked out that there must be a traitor in their escape chain. The soldiers enter the house and capture Ian, Barbara, and Susan and march into Paris to be guillotined. The soldiers set fire to the farmhouse, unaware that the Doctor remains inside. Dun-dun-dun. The Doctor wakes the next morning suffering from exhaustion and smoke inhalation. He's been saved from the blaze by a young boy, who tells him that his friends have been taken to the concierge prison in Paris. He sets off after them. Ian, Barbara, and Susan are all sentenced to death as traitors. Back at the concierge, Ian is confined in one cell, while the women are taken to another. Ian's cellmate is an English prisoner named Webster, who only lives long enough to tell him there is another English spy, James Sterling, highly placed in the French government, who has now been recalled to England. It was Webster's job to find him, and Lee knows that Sterling can be found through Jules Renan at the sign of Les Chiens Gris. Once Webster is dead, a government official named Lamart arrives and probes any conversation between Ian and the dead man. Lamart crosses Ian's name off the execution list. Susan and Barbara are taken to the guillotine. Their transport is hijacked by two men, Jules and Jean, who spear them back to their safe house. Susan is ill. They are told that they will be smuggled out of France through the escape chain, but Barbara is nervous about leaving France without the Doctor and Ian. Jules and Jean reassure her that they will try to reunite the four travelers. Another counter-revolutionary, Leon Colbert, arrives and joins their company. The Doctor reaches Paris and exchanges his clothes for those of a regional officer of the provinces. He heads for the concierge, but finds his companions have gone. Ian has successfully stolen the key to his cell and managed to get away. Lamart arrives and insists the Doctor accompany him to visit First Deputy Robespierre to report on his province. They are taken to an audience with the Tyrant of France. Little the Doctor can say to the contrary seems to have any sway, and he departs angrily. Ian follows Webster's words and hunts for Jules Renan, who turns out to be the man sheltering Barbara and Susan, who remains ill in bed. Barbara takes Susan to a local physician who reports them as escaped prisoners, and they are seized once more by the revolutionary police. Darn it. Ian goes to meet Leon, only to find that he is the mole in the escape chain, and there are armed troops waiting for him. Leon Colbert is desperate to find out what Webster said to him, but Ian is very guarded in his comments. The Doctor has returned to the concierge, where Lamart reports that Robespierre wishes to see him again the following day. Lamart ensures that the Doctor will spend the night at the concierge in order that he remains in Paris for a second audience with Robespierre. He's still there when Barbara and Susan are brought in as prisoners. With Susan too weak to be moved, he engineers Barbara's release on the pretext that she could be trailed to lead the security forces to the core of the escape chain. Jules Renan has rescued Ian, killing the traitor Leon Colbert in the process. They return to Jules' house and are stunned to meet Barbara there, released on the authority of the Doctor. Robespierre's mental state is deteriorating, and he suspects that his deputy, Paul Barras, is conspiring him in the convention. He asks Lamart to track Barras the following day to a secret assignation outside the city. When Lamart heads back to the concierge, it is to confront the Doctor, whom he masks in private as an impostor. Lamart insists the Doctor help him find Jules Renan's house and expose the spy ring. With Susan held in the prison as a hostage, the Doctor takes him there. Once there, Lamart reveals that he is in fact James Sterling. In response, Ian relays Webster's message that Sterling told him that Sterling should return to England immediately. The spy agrees but presses Ian for more details on Webster's last hours. When he recalls Barras meeting the sinking ship, Sterling recalls his own conversation with Robespierre at the inn on the Calais Road, and realizes that realize that is where the conspiracy against the first deputy will take place. Jules, Ian, and Barbara head to the inn and know they will hear Barras conspiring with the young general, who turns out to be Napoleon Bonaparte, in the indictment and the overthrow of Robespierre. Barras seeks to persuade the young general to take the leadership. Napoleon urges Barras to topple Robespierre, warns him that if this fails to happen, he will deny this meeting ever took place. The following day, Sterling arranges Susan's release from prison. The coup against Robespierre has begun, and the tyrant has been badly wounded before being seized himself and sent to the concierge. The escape chain smuggles them out of Paris. Sterling heads for Calais in England. Jules and Jean will lie low as they measure the future, and the Doctor and his companions are keen to return to the TARDIS in the wood near Paris. In a number of 1917's listing guides, the story was called The French Revolution. This appears to derive from a promotional article in BBC listings magazine Radio Times entitled Doctor Who and the French Revolution. Hungarian director Heinrich Hirsch, inexperienced in working for television, had difficulty coping with the crammed Lime Grove studios, out-of-order shooting sequences, and William Hartnell's lack of respect for him. As a result, he collapsed during shooting of the third episode. As producer Verity Lambert and production assistant Tim Combe both felt unable to run a studio, a short-term place for Hirsch was found. Combe believes this to have been John Gorey, who previously directed The Keys of Marinus, or possibly associate producer Mervyn Pinfield. No additional directors credited on screen. Hirsch recovered in time for the filming of episode 4, his trouble eased by the production moving to Television Center, Combe taking on some of the director's duties, and Hartnell being more considerate of his manner towards the director. William Russell was on holiday during filming for episodes 2 and 3, and appears in pre-filmed inserts only. Further filmed inserts in episode 2 featuring long shots of the Doctor walking across countryside toward Paris. Brian Proudfoot doubles for the Doctor in these scenes, which marks the first ever location filming for Doctor Who. That's pretty cool. So, however, this story does have a couple episodes missing, sadly. Yeah. This Doctor Who story was bought and screened in 19 countries, starting with Australia in September 1965. The last known television broadcast of the story was in Ethiopia, which screened it over 6 weeks between June 24th and July 29th, 1971. On the instructions of BBC Enterprises, the copies Ethiopia screened were returned to the BBC in London in April 1972. All 6 episodes were lost in the BBC stock clearance of the 1970s. However, a copy of Prisoners of Concierge was returned by a private collector in 1982. In October 1984, copies of A Land of Fear, Gethsemane and Guillotine, and A Change of Identity, along with another copy of Prisoners of Concierge, were found in Cyprus. They were duly returned in 1985, and the recovery was formally announced in July of that year. Cyprus did not screen the Reign of Terror. Broadcasts ended with the showing of episode 6 of the Censorites on November 25th, 1966. The prints that were screened have been sent from Cyprus to Malta. As a result of these episode recoveries, only 2 episodes, The Tyrant of France and A Bargain of Necessity, remain missing. Although copies of these episodes had also been held in Cyprus, however, they were destroyed in the 1974 Turkish invasion of Cyprus. For the 2013 DVD release, episodes 4 and 5 were animated by Planet 55 Studios. In 2008, Patrick Mulgrew of Radio Times gave a positive review of the serial, despite noting an initial dislike for it. He wrote positively of the humor and Hartnell's increased role, felt that Susan was at her weakest. SFX reviewer Ian Berriman gave the serial 2.5 out of 5 stars, calling it really rather dull after the first episode, noting that it was assumed the audience knew the history of the French Revolution. Well, that's kind of stupid if you ask me, but oh well then. Quite frankly, I actually enjoyed this episode. I've seen it a couple times and I really like it. Overall, I give this one 3 sonic screwdrivers out of 5. Well, join me next time as I talk about the first episode of the First Doctor's second season, Planet of the Giants. Until next time, oh my giddy aunt, when I say run, run, I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow. Would you like a jelly, baby? Fantastic. Allons-y, Geronimo! Bow ties are cool, fezzes are cool, and Stetsons are cool.